Yeah. Can anyone of you read Scholar's biography? Hello? Oh, hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir,
Can
we
anyone
are
of you
able to
read
hear.
biography of ST College?
Sir, is it Kubla Khan?
Yeah, please.
1 minute. Taylor Coleridge, Samuel Kubla Khan. Sir, you are able to hear me? Hello. You are able to hear me, sir?
Hello? Yeah. Yes.
Shall I start? Okay. Introduction.
Yeah.
Kubla Khan is one of those three poems which have been kept the name of the Coleridge in the forefront of the greatest English poets. The other two being the rhyme of the ancient mariner and Christabel, Christabel, and all the three have been written in 1789 and 1797 and 1798, dealing with the personal poem, but is the most relate a story. It is the piece of the description. All these poems were written when intimate friendship existed 1797 and was published in 1816 in the Christabel volume for the first time at the request of the Lord Bryan. The poem was described by Coleridge as a version in a dream, a fragment. It is an emanation from a dream-soaked imagination and does not possess any rational viewpoint or a logical consistency. It is a procession of the images colored in rainbow tints. Much of the poem seems to be the pure romance and dream. So shall I continue? Hello.
Coleridge's contribution in lyrical ballads was the famous poem of the Ancient Mariner was one of the main the
So your voice is breaking, sir.
all the oh, the a college has this kind of
Your voice is breaking. Sir, we can't hear you.
Nick. Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir, we are able to. Yes, sir.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So here, in this poem, college had that kind of knowledge of the imagination, and he wants to illustrate how a poet who is inspired has the power to invent a new universe. So when you look at this, you can understand how the poetic genius and the creativity is makes sense of this here. So here you can see that use of the imagination. Writing about the creative powers of the poetic mind, Coleridge reproduces a paradise-like vision through use of vivid imagery. So it is, can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Yeah, please respond. No, so here,
Yes, sir. We can hear you. We can hear you. It is audible.
Coleridge Coleridge introduces Kublai and his place. You look at that, the introduction of the poem Kublai Khan introduces in Xanaru, did Kublai Khan a stately pleasure, dome decree, when all the sanctuary world ran through caverns, rivers to man down to a sun's sea. So here, the poet conjures up a vision of a paradise with a stately dome and pleasures, garden of Kublai Khan. So the place and here is center of the poem. In the first verse, the pleasure dome is described, and at this primary stage, he is chiefly concerned with the existence of the dome itself. So when you look at the introduction of this, then you can understand the fact that the dome exists in Xianu immediately conveys to the reader that this is no real palace, but it is only one of make-believe. He then proceeds to detail further aspects of the place which the reader finds attractive. So here, the reader will have this kind of drawing nature from this poem, that how poetic genius and the creativity of Coleridge is vividly brought to the notice of the reader with this kind of imagery. So there you can understand that vivid imagery. Here you can understand that the place of this Xanaru, Kublai Khan, and the recurrence which sinuous rivers were blossomed many, and incense bearing tree, and here were pots and stems as the hills enfolding sunny spots of greenery. So it has been trying to describe that image and there how that nature is surrounded around that place. The poet successfully creates a paradise-like vision of the ambience in the kingdom of Kublai. So here the poet had tried to bring to the notice of the reader that a paradise-like vision of that kingdom, by drawing lot of imagery and vibrant description. The poet speaks of the inventions of an has been trying to send uh,
your video is stuck, sir.
that of the poem. Okay. So,
We are unable to hear you, sir.
all these also there is an critical ambience in the entire construction of the
Sir, your voice is breaking.
and the what whatever the decision.
Your voice is not clear, sir.
Critics have suggested
Guys, please off your video. Please off your audio. Mute your audios, please.
అదే దానికి నేను షాప్కి పోయినావంటే ఖాళీలో కొట్టా ఏమి పైసలు అలవాటు అయిందా నీకు
Please mute your device.
Another dimension of this pleasure may be overtly suggested by this description. So here, when you look at this poem, is making sense of sensuousness, picturesqueness, and physical gratification. So here, the way how all the human beings are this kind of whatever the concerns of it, and the poet also to understand that poem is making sense of the paradise and the pleasure garden, and the other is of this paradise of Mount Agora. The second is a reference to Milton's Paradise Lost, book 4th. So here, when you look at all, then you can understand how this poem is enough for references of the first and second, and the poet had tried to this kind of vivid imagery to say how that the poetry is making sense of the language, use of the diction, and the expression. So when you look at all these, then the poem is making sense of all these, to understand that the Kubla Khan is making sense of changes of the, first person narrative, and the speaker tries to replay a dream vision that he has seen. So when you look at, in this poem, he has been able to bring that kind of vivid imagery and psychological curiosity in its conveyed his declaration that although the mind has the capacity to create this paradise-like world, it is unfortunately unable to sustain this creation. So here, when you look at how the poet had tried to bring how mind is with this kind of vivid imagery, we can bring that how mind with this kind of imagery, and to say that we can also create this paradise-like world. The poem gradually changes to the first person narrative, and the speaker tries to replay a dream vision over the vivid images, and then the world which is more important than anything, that is nothing but a paradise. So in this poem, the speaker always trying to bring that here could I revive within me her symphony and song, to such a deep delight it would win me, that with music loud and long I would build that dome in air, the sunny dome, those caves of ice. So here you look at the poem is with this kind of obvious reference is there that Kubla Khan's pleasure dome can be constructed in air with ingredients of imagination and need not necessarily have a tangible concrete existence. So here the poetic genius and the creativity is uplifting the human mind to generate the idea of that vivid images and here the paradise of our whatever the concerns of human mind which is away from the reality. So here the poet had tried to see that how creativity is making sense of the human mind with this kind of upliftment to say that how ingredients of imagination do not need any kind of concrete existence. So here the imagination of human mind always with this kind of whatever the vivid imagery is. The last part of the poem, incomplete by the poet's own admission, sketches the following intriguing pictures. So here, when you look at the way how the poet, had this kind of whatever the in-depth knowledge and the politicness and the creativity, and all who heard should see them. They and all should cry, Vivek, his flashing eyes and floating hair, weave a circle round him thrice, and close your eyes with holy dread, for he on honey dew hath fed and drunk the milk of paradise. So the end of the poem makes it clear that it is a poem about the art of poetic composition. So here the art never and ever compromises with anything, no matter of paradise. It can generate the idea of that vivid imagery with the human mind, that how it is making sense of that paradise with this kind of description. So here the poem about the art of poetic composition, how it is making sense of this art which never and ever compromises with anything and which elevates the human mind to know that the paradise is the creation of the human mind, and here it is the art of poetic composition. When you look at Wordsworth and Coleridge were concerned with this subject, and all the other romantic poets too, here with this kind of whatever the poetic composition. So the art of poetic composition is making sense of the vivid imagery of the creativity, and then how the poet had that kind of references to the act of creativity in similar terms as found in the last two lines of this poem. So when you look at the way how the poet is this kind of stand to generate the idea of the creativity, to construct the idea of that art of the poetic composition with this kind of poem. So when you look at all these, then you can understand how it is with this kind of sense of reality with this romantic nature. So here a major drawback the poem encounters is the fact that when attempted to combine fantasy as a part of reality, it was a situation that could not be easily reconciled with the real world. So here we cannot match the imagination, vivid imagery and the poetic composition, the art of poetic composition with this kind of whatever the imagination to the real world, and to have this kind of whatever the vivid imagery to understand the real world. So here the way how he had elevated the thought-provoking idea of the art on poetic composition, and would reveal that although the mind has the amazing power to create an ideal world of fantasy. So here the poem is center of the human mind, and how it is of poetic compose, how human mind elevates this kind of creation. It can generate the matter of paradise or anything, but it does not have any kind of concrete reality. So this is what you can understand in his poem that Coleridge had tried to elevate try to highlight the importance of the vivid imagery as well as the imagination in the poetic genius and the creativity of that romantic age. So here you can understand how this vivid imageries are all with this kind of our whatever the greatness of Kubla Khan, maybe to the way Coleridge depicts the upsurge of the irrationality and chaos into a rational and ordered world, a context which is unprecedented in lyric poetry. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. I report that Milton's Paradise Lost, and then you can understand how Kubla Khan has been called a visionary and the poem is an excellent example of aspect of the poet's temperament. So when you look at this poem, this kind of creativity with imagery, and then a philosophy of Plato, the cavern is closely associated to levels of human consciousness. When you look at the poem with this kind of in-depth cyclical reading of the poem, there has begun to show the various levels of complexity which the poem includes. So here you can understand that. Know how the poetic genius and the creativity of Coleridge is making sense of that visionary world and which is away from the real world. But here it constructs the paradise with this kind of imagination with the human mind. So you can understand how Kubla Khan is making sense of this kind of whatever the power of mind with the imagination and which is making sense of our creativity. So with this I wish to conclude the Kubla Khan, and then we'll come to the another poem, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. So here, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What is the theme of the poem? Yes? Yes, what is the theme of the poem? What is the theme of the poem? Yes, what is the theme of the poem? Is anyone? Hello? Hello? Hello?
We can build the castles and the beautiful castles and the structures with the imaginary materials. We need not to go for concrete materials. Human mind is very beautiful imagination. Human mind has very beautiful imagination to build and to take the readers to take the beautiful world to any place.
Yeah. So here he has been trying to emphasize the importance of the human mind and the imagination, and that kind of visionary, and then the sensuousness as well as physical gratification, which is kind of poetic genius and the creativity. So when you look at all these, then Coleridge had try to see the way how it is making sense of all these aspects of the poetic genius and the creativity. Now we'll come to Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. Can anyone of you read the background of Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. We are able to hear you. Yes,
Hello?
sir.
So can anyone of you read the background of the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner?
Background of the poem. Coleridge, the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner is one of the world's masterpieces. The plan of the rhyme of the ancient mariner was made by Coleridge on the afternoon of November 20, 1797, on a walk along with the Wordsworth and Doughty. Wordsworth in the Quantock Hills. Coleridge says that the poem was founded on a dream of his friend Cruikshank. It was a strange dream in which Coleridge fears he saw a skeleton ship manned by skeleton sailors. Wordsworth soon disassociated himself from its composition, while Coleridge continued working on it alone and finished it on 23rd March 1798. It was first published in 1798 in Lyrical Ballads. The Lyrical Ballads began with the Coleridge poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, and ends with the Wordsworth poem, Tintern Abbey. A revised version of a Rime of the Ancient Mariner with the marginal glosses was published in Sibylline Leaves in 1817. The tale is narrated by the ancient mariner and it is quite entertaining and delightful. The poem is written in the form of ballad with the 7 sections, each telling of a new stage in the process. Coleridge was very deeply interested in the ballad literature. The Rime of the Ancient Mariner is perhaps one of the best literary ballads of the English language. It is a story of the crime, punishment, and redemption.
Yeah. So here, as we know that how college had that kind of imagination and the power of mind and the way how he had used this kind of whatever the concerns of the human mind with this kind of creativity. So here, the poem is in the form of a ballad, and as we all know that how the poem is with this kind of whatever the great skill of its exploration. Here, the poem has a musical quality, a regular rhyme, a scheme, and cadence. It is also supplemented by a detailed prose commentary accompanying the different parts of the poem. So here he had believed that the emotional intensity and intellectual engagement were essential to make a poem to have that kind of powerful appeal. So here the poet had that kind of touch of the emotional intensity and intellectual engagement. So here the poem is with this kind of whatever the analysis of is whatever the explorations of the emotional intensity and intellectual engagement. Out of 3 young wedding guests, one is stopped by an eccentric old sailor. It is an ancient mariner. So the poem is with this kind of beginning that the first portion of the poem is with this kind of analysis. It is an ancient mariner and he stoppeth one of 3. The guest protests and asks to be set free by thy long grey beard and glittering eye. Now wherefore stopp'st thou me? Hold up, unhand me, grey beard loon. Soon his hand dropped he. The mariner immediately does as he asks, but hypnotizes him with an intense look in his eyes. So here the poem has been
Hello. Sir, you are not audible.
Hello?
Yes, sir, we are able
Hello?
to hear you.
Yeah. So here, it is with this kind of, building of the ancient mariners, and then you can see how this poem, runs with this kind of rhyme scheme. And then we'll see that here the ancient mariner and his fascinating tale that begins to unfold now. The first adventure that the ship of the sailor had was to be tossed in a firestorm. This took the ship off course in the southerly direction. They encountered huge slabs of ice and the ship was sandwiched between them. So here the poet is trying to bring all these whatever the surroundings of that the ice was here, the ice was there, the ice was all around. It cracked and growled and roared and howled like noises in a swound. Before they could come out of this danger, an albatross, a huge seabird, was spotted. It flew around the ship and soon the ice cracked. A breeze pulled the ship out of the frozen seas. They were now sailing blindly through a thick fog. The sailors found that the albatross was flying along with the ship. They considered it a good omen. So here you can see that the description of the stanza with this here at length it crossed an albatross through the fog it came as if it had been a Christian soul we hailed in God's name. At this point in the story the narrator suddenly looked pale, drawn and depressed. The wedding guest was compelled to ask him the reason for this sudden change. The mariner replied regretfully that he killed the albatross with his crossbow. So here you see that the mariner has been trying to tell the story of that place, and then the mariner had that whatever he had the God save thee, ancient mariner, from the fiends and the plague thee thus. Why look'st thou so? With my crossbow I shot the albatross. The sailors in the ship got very angry with him for killing the bird which had brought them the breeze. So here like this, he has been trying to bring all these aspects of that whatever the 625 lines, and this poem is divided into 7 sections, and here it is with this kind of thematic ambiguity. So here you cannot get one theme. It has that kind of thematic ambiguity into different aspects. Critics have found in it a Christian morality which may be only a cloak for a political allegory of the powerful revolution, which so impressed and finally disillusioned the poet and his friend Wordsworth. So here college uses archaic language to bring to the reader's notice that the setting of the story is the distant past in keeping with the conventions of the ballad tradition. So here, as we all know that we have the sonnet, ballad, lyric, ode. So one of the forms of the poetry is ballad, and here he wants to keep it the conventions of the ballad tradition. So here the story of this poem is is a narration of different aspects because of its whatever the concerns of that imagery, as well as the way how he had used the archaic language. So when you look at the poem's gloss or prose commentary included by the poet himself has also been variously interpreted. So here it has the kind of ambiguous thematic concerns. Not one aspect, it has multiple themes into its representation. So the poet had tried to look at that poem into 7 sections with this kind of ambiguous nature, and it it is a user, it is with this kind of symbolism also with this kind of adequate attention. As as symbol of human life. The poem, is a representation of symbol of human life, with the mariner as every man and the wedding guest as the observing consciousness. So here, when you look at the mariner is the representation of every man, and here the wedding guests are all observing consciousness. So when you look at the poem, it is kind of background that the thematic concerns are all ambiguous, and there is no any kind of singleness of thought and idea, because the poem is in 625 lines and it is divided into 7 sections, and then you can see how it is the representation of symbol of human life. When you look at all these, then the way how the poem is with this kind of stand of the mariner as every man, and the wedding guests are all observing with this kind of human consciousness. Objects or symbols, there is the albatross which was hung around the mariner's neck instead of the cross, making its Christian dimension clear. So when you look at the way how it is making sense of all these aspects of multiple creativities, multiple ideas, and the thematic concerns are also ambiguous in its representation, because every man is as represented as mariner, and the guests are all observing all these, and then here the albatross is like this kind of whatever the Christian dimension, and then you can see that the way how the the sea, the water snakes, the crew on the ghostly ship are all powerful symbols which added to the poem's supernatural atmosphere. So here the poem is with this kind of ambiguous nature to bring all these elements of human and non-human, and then supernatural atmospheres, and the sailors are all the deeds of the mariner lying in the shambles and around his feet. The pilot and the hermit are symbols of redemption which come to a person who is willing to pay the right retribution. So here the poem is with this kind of ambiguous representative of the non-human aspects, as well as that how the mariner is the center of the poem to narrate the story. So here the romantic dimensions by saying that the mariner's curse is because he callously destroys natural harmony and cosmic balance by wantonly killing the albatross. So here when you look at that the supernatural elements into the poem, that the poet also includes this kind of typical romantic aspect dimension of this, that to say how the mariner destroys the whatever the cosmic balance here in case of the albatross. So like that, when you look at the natural harmony and cosmic balance are killed by the way to understand how the mariner is with this kind of representation of the destroyer. So when you look at all these, then you can understand how human beings have been destroying nature and exploiting its destructively for their own end from their time immemorial. So here how it is the inclusiveness of the good and bad, and human and non-human, and then the supernatural elements, and then how it is with this kind of 7 sections to say how ancient mariner has been trying to bring to the notice of that wedding guests who are the observers of that mariner, and who is the representative of every man in this world. So here at last it concludes that the way how the impact of the narrative on the wedding guest forms the concluding lines of the poem. Now the wedding guest turned from the bridegroom's door. He went like one that had been stunned and is of sense forlorn. A sadder and a wiser man, he rose the morrow morn. So here when you look at the poem with this kind of ambiguity, thematic aspects of it and everything, because here the poem is with this kind of stand that one can understand how the way the poet had touched each and every aspect of the ground reality of the human beings. So here the human beings are all with this kind of whatever their existence of reality, and to have their survival they can kill the nature as well as the animals and a natural harmony. And here you can see the way how the mariners experience makes him go through that amount of suffering which makes him deserving of the mercy of God. So here we all know that how we need the mercy of the God in our life. Similarly here the mariner's experience also makes him to go through the amount, as we all know that the way how the mariner is the representation of every man, and the wedding guests are all observers of the consciousness. And then here, and then when we fail to survive, then we will try to seek the blessings of the God. Similarly here the mariner wishes to seek the mercy of God whenever he had sufferings in his life. So here it is clearly indicated in his encounter with the hermit, where the actual didactic message of his narrative is explicitly expressed. So here the rhyme was a powerful influence on the next generation of romantic poets, such as Shelley, because it deals with numbness, numbness contrasted with the rejuvenating influence of nature. So here, as we all know that the romantic poets are all, have tried to establish that the significance of the, nature in our human life. If we against the nature, then it will take the revenge over our, on our life. Then we can see the mercy of God. Similarly here, time of the ancient is the representation of these kind of multiple aspects which are making sense of the human, non-human elements, as well as supernatural elements, as well as then the common man. Whenever he or she is into these kind of sufferings, then they are going to have the experience of their own, and then they want to seek the mercy of the God. So here the poem concludes with this in this kind of whatever the consolement, that even if you will suffer and you will seek the mercy of God, and because of your deeds you may forget God, and you may have the kind of concerns of the material benefits, but at last you have to realize, because you are an experienced of the suffering. So here mariner too had that kind of sufferings of his own in his life, and he had tried to represent that all the human beings in day-to-day life, that one can say that how anyone can seek ambiguous nature of these thematic concepts. So when you look at all these, then you can understand how college had tried to bring all these 7 sections into these kind of controlment of the human beings, that if you are against the nature, and then it will take the revenge over our whatever the material benefits. So here we can see how a man can and realize about his follies or blunders, or that could be any kind of things are in our life. So here college had tried to touch this kind of moral, ethical value of life, that we should not destroy the nature, and we should have this kind of nature's blessings. It is nothing but the mercy of the God. So here when you look at the way how to understand this ancient mariner, and the way to understand that human life, this kind of all these aspects of our romanticization of human life, as well as the sufferings of our whatever the deeds. So when you look at all these, then we can understand, you can say that you can reap as you sow. So here with this you can understand that the ancient mariner who had tried to teach the way to understand how the human beings have to realize about their follies and blunders, as well as how they destroying nature with this kind of realization. So when you look at all these, that the way to know how poet had tried to touch each and every aspect with this kind of ambiguous thematic concern. We cannot bring one aspect of its representation, because it is with this kind of multiple aspects, as well as here the way of human life with this kind of whatever the unrealization. So when you go through this, then you can understand how college had tried to establish the reality of God, and here you can understand how your poet had tried to explain each and every aspect through all the whatever the 625 lines, and with the seven sections. So you can see that the way how the poet had taught us to have adequate attention, and to know the human concerns with this kind of realization. So with this, I can conclude the poem, and then we'll see to have the another poem of the next section, whatever the other section. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. It is audible, sir.
Yeah. What is the theme of the poem? Yeah, what is the theme of the poem?
Nature provides each and everything.
What is the theme of the poem? Yeah.
What is
What
required
next?
for the man? Sir, I am telling, sir.
Yeah.
Nature provides each and everything, whatever man requires. But man can be ambitious, but he should not be over ambitious to satisfy his desires, and to become very rich, and to be to be proved at he will be at a good level. He always try to exploit the nature. Actually, he takes more from the nature whatever he requires. It is not good for us. Whenever we take more from the nature than our requirements, it will take revenge on us. Nature, we are equipped with good sources of the nature. That's only, sir.
Yeah. Fine. So here, as we know that the representation of mariner as a man, and the wedding guests are all observing that how this man survival with the experience of the sufferings, and how he wishes to realize to have the mercy of God, and to see that how Coleridge had established this kind of the power of nature and mercy of God, and realization of human beings, and the ignorance of the human beings. So here in this poem, one can understand how the romantic age is not only the romanticization or beauty of the nature. It is making sense of age of reason, and individual expression, and that kind of concerns of the beauty of the nature, to know how it will generate the idea of the imagination to reach to the level of that paradise, and to have this kind of mercy of God. So with this, I can say that the poem is with this kind of stand that to realize our human life with all these aspects. So now we'll come to the another poem of the which section shall we go to? Hello.
CB Shelley to the Skylark,
Hello.
sir.
No, that one over last class.
What to the West Wind?
I have completed all the poems of this unit, no? Ode to the Nightingale, Ode to West Wind, all the poems are over of this unit.
Sir, tennis and Lotus teachers, sir. Sir, tennis and...
Then we'll start Ulysses and Lotus Cetus. Yeah, we'll start. Can anyone of you read biography of Tennyson? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Can anyone of you read biography of Tennyson?
Yes, sir. 1 minute, sir.
Yeah.
Alfred Lord Tennyson was born
Hello.
on August 6, 18. Hello, sir. Hello. Hello. Alfred Lord Tennyson was born on August 6, 1809 in Somersby, Lincolnshire, England. He is one of the well-loved Victorian poets. Tennyson had a great interest in writing and had showed his talent in it. He wrote an epic poem of 6,000 lines at the age of 12. He was guided by his father, Reverend George Tennyson, in classical and modern languages. Due to excessive consumption of alcohol, Tennyson's father died in 1820s. Tennyson escaped home in 1827 to attend Trinity College, Cambridge. He, along with his brother Charles, published poems in the same year. Arthur Hallam was then leading a literary club, Apostles, which was attracted by the poems written by the two brothers. The Apostles provided a great friendship and confidence to Tennyson as a poet. Hallam and Tennyson became great friends hereafter. In the summer of 1829, both made a trek into conflict-torn northern Spain. They toured together in 1830 and 1832. In the year 1833, Hallam suddenly died, which had its impact on the life of Tennyson's
Changing it.
family. Is it okay? It's page number 203.
లేదు.
ఇక్కడ కూడా తక్కువ ఉంది కరోనా పెద్ద మాస్క్ కూడా పెట్టుకుని ప్రశాంతంగా ఇదే బయట పోయేసి స్నానం చేస్తారు బట్టలు తీసుకుంటారు
చేంజ్ కావాల్సిండే అని తీసిన కదా మర్చిపోయాను. చేంజ్ కావాలి మళ్ళీ ఫైనల్ చేయాలి.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, yeah, have you started this biography?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, here, what do you know about Tennyson? What do you know about Tennyson?
Tennyson
Yes,
was born
please.
on August. Alfred Lord Tennyson was born on August 6, 1809, in Somershire, Lincolnshire, England. He is one of the well-loved Victorian poets. Sir. He was a Victorian age poet. Tennyson had a great interest in writing and also showed his talent in it. He wrote the epic poem of 6,000 lines at the age of 12. He was guided by his father, Reverend Reverend George Tennyson, in classic and modern languages. Due to the excessive consumption of the alcohol, Tennyson's father died in 1820. Tennyson escaped home in 1827 to attend Trinity College, Cambridge. He, along with his brother Charles, published the poems in the same year. Author Hallam was then leading a literary club, Apostles, which was attracted by the poems written by the two brothers. The Apostles provided a great friendship and confidence to the Tennyson as a poet.
Okay.
Hallam,
Yeah.
Hallam
So,
and Tennyson
here,
became a great friend.
Yeah. So here, as we know that the definition of Alfred Tennyson's poet, Alfred Tennyson's. Hello. Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
here we have this let us reader, the skill of the poetic Matthews. So here the poem is this kind of flawless metrical artist. Tennyson was a mastery of metrical skill is seen in almost all his poems. Here the choric song is written in iambic lines which vary in length. The rhythm is considerably manipulated by the inversion iambic lines which vary in length. So here the iambic into pochi. The rhythm is adapted successfully to the fluctuating emotion of the poem's theme. The movement of the lines is in conformity with the thoughts. Tennyson's metrical art is a significant balance of sound and sense. So here the poem is with this kind of remarkable manner in the opening lines, and here it is the atmosphere of sleepiness and drowsiness is conveyed by the use of soft syllables. So here you can see that the mastery of music is unparalleled in Victorian poetry. So the poem is with this kind of sense of melody and rich in its pictorial effect. And here it is painted the island in lotus eaters and mirrored the panorama of nature in his famous poem in memoriam. So here you can see the poem's background. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Here the Victorian age witnessed an unprecedented progress in science. This revolutionized man's thought and shook the very foundation of his religious faith and secular values. So here we can see that the highlight of the science and the way how it was a break from the religious beliefs and secular values. And here Darwin's epoch-making book Origin of Species, which traced man's descent from the ape, came as a major blow to the strong edifice of Victorian faith, the age-old belief that God created Adam and Eve, and the Christian belief in the immortality of the soul were strongly questioned by the Victorian society. So here, Victorian age is the age of intellectuality, revolutionary, and the question of religion and the other aspects of spirituality, and the influence of the Darwin's Origin of Species are all with this kind of stand of the Victorian age poets. So when you look at all these, then the poet had tried to bring this kind of conflict between doubt caused by science and faith in religion, confuse the mind of people. Many Victorian writers and thinkers sought a compromise between science and religion. So as we all know that how science and religion part of human life, and Tennyson had that kind of touch of the representation as a Victorian poet, and aware of the conflict of the doubt and faith and religion and science. All these are all believe these lotus eaters. And then the poem had tried to look at the way how its opening lines. It is hard to settle order once again. So here the poem had this kind of beginning that there is confusion worse than death, trouble on trouble, pain on pain. So as we all know that the poem is with this kind of beginning that we have a doubt and confusion and crises and troubles, and each and everything is with this kind of dreamy ease and lethargic mood of the objects of nature reflect precisely the land and the indolent mood of the companions of Ulysses. So here we have two poems of Alfred Tennyson. One is the Lotus Eaters and the other one is Ulysses, and who is a king, is in search of the knowledge and who left his kingdom, and he had concluded that to follow knowledge like sinking stars beyond the utmost bound of human thought. And here we see that this poem was written, when Tennyson was only 23 and was published late in 1832. So here there is a coincidence with this 1832 of necessity of atheism by P.B. Shelley and the publication of this Lotus Eaters. So here the poem is this kind of based on the episode in book 9, and then Homer's Odyssey and the king of Ithaca, small island of Greek and his companions. So like that, here the poem is of this kind of voyage, home, course of voyage is and then here you can see that Lotus Eaters is with this all the whatever the aspects of that to have the poem with this kind of representation. So when you look at how this Lotus Eaters is making sense of all the looking dark and pale and melancholy came near the ship of Ulysses. So here the way how Ulysses and Lotus Eaters are all with this kind of background, and the inhabitants brought the branches of lotus and gave the sailors one each. Those who tasted the lotus fruit forget everything about their homeward voyage. Their voices changed to resemble the sound of dying man. So here, whenever you look at this kind of supernatural element, something happens unexpectedly. The way how it is with this kind of representation of a resemblance as well as that kind of whatever the change in human life. So here in this Lotus Eater, then the the lotus land was heard the soft gentle music which soothed the worn nerves of the Lotus Eaters and lulled them to sleep. So as and when the sailors had this kind of the Lotus Eaters, and they themselves changed their voice and their other aspects and all. So like that, here nature was tranquil, and it is with this kind of aspects of all, and then the way how human beings will be mesmerized with this kind of power of the nature. The sailors questioned why man should be oppressed with weariness and anxiety when all things in nature are just restful. So here the man versus nature in this Lotus Eaters, you can see the question of existence of human beings. Why human beings should suffer? Why should they realize these kind of pains and all, and the beauty of the nature? Why not the nature? And here the question of the nature's existence is with this kind of stand. Why are we weighed upon with heaviness and utterly consumed with sharp distress? Why? So here, the poet, has been trying to say that why human beings should have this kind of toil and sufferings and weariness, and why they are with this kind of whatever their helplessness, and the nature which is with this kind of power and always with that kind of freshness, but all the pains of pains and sufferings and all these kind of weariness and toil are all with the human beings. Why? See here, it is only man, the highest of all creatures, who toils hard for livelihood and passes from one sorrow to another. So in our human life, we see that we always tries to pass through all these whatever the experiences of our human life to pass and to have one more sorrow like that. The weary of the sea life. So here you can see that all things have rest and ripen toward the grave. In silence ripen, fall and cease. Give us long rest of that dark death of that dreamful ease. So here the poet says that as we all have the sorrows, and the nature is always fresh, and here he asks that to have the sleep or death or rest or silence. And then here the poet is appealing to hear the murmuring sound of the stream lying on the bench in of wakeful drowsiness, to talk to one another and whispers, to watch ripples rolling lazily on the sea shore, and ruminate about childhood friends who are now no more. So here you see that how a poet is with this kind of uh, helplessness condition, and the failures of his life. And the poet wants to have that kind of power of nature. And here he questions why all the rest of things are all with this kind of life without any kind of toil or worries or any kind of thing, but only to hear and see the fall of sparkling rain, only to hear was sweet stretch out beneath the pine. So here the poet is with kind of comparison of the nature, as well as sailors are therefore reluctant to business, has to drag them back to the ships much against their will. So here the mood of the poem is languid, and Tennyson conveys this mood brilliantly through the creation of a proper atmosphere. So here you can see that the objects of nature have been painted as if in a dreamy state. The dewdrops fall gently on a pool of water collected between tall mountains. The sound and melody of the words creates an atmosphere of dreamy indolence. The predominance of the long vowels in the lines. So here you can see that the poem is with this kind of creative impression of sleep, all these aspects, and he describes accurately and minutely the silent operations of nature, the growth and the decay of a leaf, an apple, and a flower. The keynote of the poem is struck in the closing line: "Oh, rest ye, brother mariners, we will not wander more." So here, when you look at the journey of the human beings, passes through the sorrows and worries, weariness, toil, and the nature will with this kind of power, and it always with this kind of silence, and it teaches us that to have the attitude revealed in this poem is that a period of long labor should be followed by a period of long rest. And thus Ulysses is an apology for activity, whereas the lotus eater is an apology for idleness. So here in this poem, you can see the poet had tried to bring these two aspects of
Sir, your audio is stuck.